humans. That's all I can think of.
No, this is all gonna be on you, Chris. That's all
Oh,
on you.
wow. Hmm. Welcome back to Crosscut, everyone. I'm your co-host, Chris.
And I'm your other co-host, Josh.
And today we are going to do another Jeff Daniels movie, like a trifecta, if you will. And going with My Favorite Martian. When you decided to do Arachnophobia right after Dumb and Dumber, just to keep the Jeff Daniels going, I thought, okay, let's do it one more time. Let's go with Favorite Martian because that was the only thing that popped into my head when I said it. And I haven't seen that movie in forever. Like since I was a kid, I had forgotten it was a Disney movie. I watched it last night, and I remember how funny it actually is. Christopher Lloyd really does steal the show for that movie in every scene.
Looking at Jeff Daniels' IMDb, trying to find this movie, all I could help but think was, damn, could have picked a way better movie than this. This movie, um, so going back to Arachnophobia, how I said I'd not seen that movie in like 25 years as a kid, that's pretty much the same thing as this one. I saw this once as a kid, probably on like VHS,
Mhm.
and I don't really remember that much about it. The only thing I really remember about it is kind of how risque it is for like a kid's movie.
In what way?
Well, there's like slight nudity and there's a lot of Elizabeth Hurley cleavage, which I wasn't complaining about. Some adult jokes. So I just remember thinking like, oh, this is pretty risque for a kid's movie, and I still kind of felt that way.
I mean, it's early 2000s, right? So I could still
No, it's 98
Oh,
or
98.
99.
I thought it was like 2003 or something.
No,
Okay.
on IMDb it says 99.
Yes, there's a bunch of those adult jokes, but as a kid, it goes over your head. But I
Not some of them. Some of them
may,
were pretty straightforward.
I guess. I think more of the jokes come from Zoot, this
Sure.
the coming alive suit, which I kind of, he was funny. That suit was funny.
You mean Newman?
All right, I'm busting out. Hey, go ahead, try them all on. See if I care.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember as a kid it was funny. It's a to me it's a good family fun movie. And like Christopher Lloyd coming being an alien crash lands. He needs to change into human form by eating his Vuplex or something like that. His chewing gum.
Try some. Why? You don't want to try Martian gum? Notice anything different? No, not really.
I don't know. I still laugh at it.
I laughed at some parts. I definitely was chuckling. Probably Christopher Lloyd was making me laugh the most.
Yeah.
Just kind of how animated he was. I'm trying to remember what parts I actually like out loud laughed at. There's
Hmm.
a good scene with Elizabeth Hurley and Wallace Shawn, and she's kind of seducing him, and she kind of leans back, and his glasses are all fogged up.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay. The one scene that actually made me the laugh the most is when he's in the spa, and Jeff Daniels is like creeping on him, and his neighbor like is like, what you doing there? And he's like, oh, I'm watching my uncle in the spa.
Yeah, he's
She's
in the
just
hot
like,
tub and
oh,
I'm watching.
yeah. It's like, what a weird family. So that was funny. And that made me laugh. And there's a couple other moments that I was chuckling. Yeah, this movie, it is pretty funny for a kids movie.
Yeah.
Um, it definitely felt like the era that it came out at.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about 90s movies. I feel like there's always the main character is always down on his luck with like a shitty car. I don't know. Is that just like a thing from the 90s?
I
It's
guess.
like there's always a down on his luck main character who wants the girl, but then it's the other girl that's right there the whole
Right.
time, and he always has a car that's not great.
And he always has that one friend that helps him like achieve his goals or whatever.
Right, right. Which I guess in this would have been the Martian,
Yeah,
Christopher Lloyd.
but how about the toilet scene? I mean, that was kind of funny.
Okay, that was funny too. I was laughing at that. Just them driving, and he's literally just on the front of the hood.
Dun,
So
dun, dun,
yeah,
dun, dun.
this movie has some funny moments for sure, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, even when he's on the pier and he gets to taste ice cream for the first time. Wow, okay. I don't know. I really laughed for the whole thing. Like I have this movie on DVD back home. I keep laughing at it. More for Christopher Lloyd than anything else, but even Zoot has some good moments. And
Yeah,
when
he's funny. Wayne Knight's good at doing voice work, so yeah.
yeah, and like when he's in the dressing room and he thinks he's been betrayed because Martin is blending in. It brought back memories of me watching that as a kid. It's all around fun to me. Oh, and when he's recording him and everything, and him explaining the spaceship, that just reminded me so much of Back to the Future. When Marty's taping him, he's explaining about the DeLorean. He's
Hmm.
like, this sucker is electrical, and like that that seemed almost exactly the same as Back to the Future.
Mm, okay.
You didn't feel that? You didn't put that together?
Well, of course I'm gonna think Back to the Future because of Christopher Lloyd.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Did you realize that the the one like CIA guy that turns out to be his friend at the end
Mhm.
um was the original Martian in My Favorite Martian, the TV show?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, I never
Ray
saw the
Walston,
TV
who
show. So.
I never saw the TV show either, but I looked it up, and yeah, I guess he was the original. But that actor was in a movie that we reviewed, one of our first movies called Popcorn. He played the guy that introduces all the students to the. He has like all the stuff, so it was the same actor.
Oh,
Yeah, and if anyone's seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High, he plays Mr. Hand.
I've actually never seen that movie.
So
It,
he was in the original show. So I thought that was a fun nod to
yeah, that was a good
um
one.
yeah. And then there's another character. He doesn't really have a huge part in the movie. He was the cameraman. TK, his name's TK Carter, the actor. He was in the original, or he was in John Carpenter's The Thing. Um, and I kept watching the movie. I was like, man, that guy looks familiar. Where do I know him from? And when I was in Los Angeles a couple years ago, I went to a screening of The Thing, and he showed up and talked about the movie. So I was like, oh man, it's that guy. But yeah, TK Carter from the original The Thing. And I mean, watching this movie, I just could not help but think, like, damn, Elizabeth Hurley was fine as hell back in, I mean, she is still sexy, but she was
Yeah.
fine as hell back in the
Is that
90s.
your cutie of the week?
Sure, Elizabeth Hurley. She was
Yeah, yeah,
very, very good looking. I like how like every guy just basically was like in love with her as well.
right. And so turns out she's just too much to handle.
Hmm. Yeah. I do kind of remember that as a kid watching this movie, that she was like a love interest, but she wasn't the actual love interest.
Right.
She was kind of the hooty tooty, and there was
Yeah.
like another love interest. So
It's funny that you mentioned a thing too, because I was just thinking about that movie today.
it's a good movie.
It is. It really is. I was looking up some movie facts for it.
Speak, Chris. Talk.
I'm thinking there's just it's not much like really to talk about that movie. It's a simple storyline. He crash landed, needs to repair his ship. He ends up finding a human, needs his help. Everything in between is just him adjusting to human life. In the meantime, eating some ice cream until he gets a hangover from it, and trying new clothing because he's got the good style on both planets. Oh, I like at the beginning of the movie when they're sending the rovers onto Mars, and he's like, and the rover just dies, and the last message is, "Well, I think $3 trillion is well spent today, guys. We
Hmm.
got some good rocks."
Yeah.
Meantime, there's a whole city behind the rock.
Hmm.
Damn. $3 trillion on a robot that died.
Well, speaking about wasting money on something that didn't get a return on value, this movie. The movie had a $65 million budget. Unfortunately, it didn't do well. It made only 36 million. This
Hey.
definitely was one of those movies that you probably watched on VHS though as a kid. Like my situation,
Mhm.
my mom probably got the library. He's like, oh, Jeff Daniels, Christopher Lloyd. This looks fun. And yeah, I remember watching it as a kid. I didn't remember it was a Disney movie. I actually was a little surprised it's a Disney movie.
Mhm.
I was even like, there's scenes of like her smoking. I was like, oh wow, they're smoking in like a kid's movie. That's kind of interesting. So that just
Oh,
kind of
that's
goes back
right.
to my original point of just like, I don't know, there's like a lot of adult stuff in this movie that I just remember as a kid, and it still kind of was like that. Even some of the kissing was a little like
Oh,
not kid friendly.
that definitely was not kid friendly for sure.
So it's
Definitely.
just like stuff like that I remember mostly about this movie. But Jeff Daniels, he's good. Um, kind of an interesting movie for him to do. The 90s were so unique for Jeff Daniels, man. You just look at his resume. You go from we did
Dumb and Dumber.
Erectophobia, and then in 94 he does Dumb and Dumber and Speed, two different kinds of movies. The same year that, or not the same year, but like the year before this movie came out, a movie that I looked at and was like, oh, we could have done that instead.
Which one?
Pleasantville, which is such a better movie. Maybe
Pleasantville.
one of his most underrated movies. That's a good one.
Yeah.
101 Dalmatians came out in 95, so he just had such
Oh,
a
yeah.
interesting 90s.
It's all over the place, really.
Kind of interested to know maybe like the backstory of like why he'd want to do this, if he was like a fan of the
Mhm.
TV show or something, but
I,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I completely forgot about Pleasantville. Like completely. That really is a good movie though. That really
Yeah.
is. But no, I just wanted to watch something funny that wasn't Dumb and Dumber or Dumb and Dumber 2. It was just a good family friendly, funny movie. I know it wasn't a big box hit, of course not, but it's funny to me. If you want to just chuckle at Christopher Lloyd being an alien from Mars, that's your movie. Mm.
So, my favorite Martian, to me, this movie is kind of like how it was for me in general, pretty forgettable. Like I said, I kind of saw this once, never really thought about it again until you had mentioned it. I mean, sure, it is fun. What's the word I want to use? It's
Casual.
safe. It's a safe watch to check out. So, Jeff Daniels is Jeff Daniels. Christopher Lloyd is zany. Elizabeth Hurley is a honey, and that's pretty much it.
All right, so that concludes our episode on My Favorite Martian. Now, please remember to like, subscribe, comment below. Maybe tell us a movie that you would like to be featured on here.
All
Mhm.
right, so next week we're probably going to be looking at keeping this Christopher Lloyd train going, or should I say the word train, or maybe I should use the word DeLorean,
Ooh,
because I think I'm going to be going with Back to the Future, and we might even be doing a trilogy.
stay tuned.
But that's all we got for this week. We want to thank everybody for watching, and that is going to be a wrap. Cut, print, we're moving on.